So, I wanted to talk to you today about what happens after you receive um, a diagnosis of autism. So, as I'm aware, this can go to many different countries, but um, I'm talking, well, this can apply to anybody actually, in some senses, some of it anyway. But here in the UK, and I live in Wales, and it depends on what area you live in or where you live, what kind of support you're going to get. It's a postcode lottery. I learned from someone I was supporting that if you should check the area you move to if you need support being autistic. It's good to check the area what the support is available, because I found out to my horror actually that horror is a bit strong word. Well, I don't know, maybe it's not. There was nothing in this one area because the area was a poor area and the council had, less money to spend on supporting people who needed it. So this person had moved from an area that had, like, he had lots of support to suddenly somewhere that wasn't going to give him any, and there wasn't support groups and things like that. So do some research or contact me or look on the on Autistic Minds website, because on there's a directory and you can check, do a postcode thing and find what's in that area. Well, I don't think it's postcode, it's area it goes by, but you can get support to do that as well. So it's worth checking if ever you're going to go anywhere. And once you find out you're autistic, there's so many things that will start to happen. I know for beforehand it's not going to change you now because you've always been like that, but what might happen for some people is awareness, and that can have a big difference to a person's life once they know these things. Some people won't want to seek a diagnosis because they've managed to put in coping strategies and they're no better, these people. I'm not saying that at all. It's just that everybody's got different backgrounds, what experiences they had growing up, what was the school system like for them, what, how their autism affected them, how supportive their family were, and that sort of thing. So it's all big difference for some people, isn't it? It's all individuals. Nobody should feel bad if they need support. I need support. So yeah. So once you find out you're autistic, there's some ways it can go for you. You can, you can be, well, a couple of feelings. You could have a multitude of feelings. I was happy, and because for me, only because I kind of thought, because I spent a long time not understanding why I couldn't communicate with other people, or why their values were so different from mine, and I kept trying to fit into these situations that I'm never going to. Well, I can do masking to a point with a neurotypical crowd, and I can do it for so long, but I don't always know what the etiquette or the repertoire is for each situation. I'm better now because I'm in my 50s. I've got a better kind of I've learned, I'm not saying you should have to learn this, by the way, but I did it because of working with professionals who are neurotypical, and I kind of need to communicate, and the world isn't adapted yet to know that they probably need to communicate with me if they can learn to, so you go through different things. So yeah, I did go through a bit of mourning, because of never having been properly understood. They there was a lot of um, criticism and things like that. So it was nice for me to know actually I can do quite a lot of things, but with the right people and the right environment. And I actually come to love those parts of myself now that are sensitive to those sorts of things. So yeah. So then when you find out, 'cause some, depending on where you're being diagnosed, it depends what their aftercare is like. Now, for I think the majority of places I found, it is pretty much you get a diagnosis, your doctors will know, and might give you a book on it, links to websites. For a lot of people, they are just sort of, that's it, really. Now you found out. And there doesn't seem to be an after plan much. Although within the South Wales area where I'm from, then they are getting better at what the after plan is. So they'll do a post-diagnostic course to help someone understand parts themselves, and apparently it's quite good now. Before there was nothing. So these are sort of recent developments about the post-diagnostic course, and but there's waiting lists, so you've got to wait for a while to get on it. Yeah, so there's those things, but there's still certain parts that aren't going to be entirely answered by the NHS, and in some areas people don't have the access what we've got to here in Wales. So I think the next step for yourself when you come out is probably self-reflection, probably, in ways about, right, let's find out, what is it, what is my autism look like. Look at your report, see what they say they noticed. They don't always notice the right things, though, I found. So I would find yourself a support group with other autistics, to talk to other people like yourself. Same applies for ADHDers. Sometimes us autistics have ADHD as well, so neurodivergent group, people that you can communicate so that you know what they, ways of coping. I mean, you probably wouldn't walk in there straight away and ask that, how to cope, but to me, if you came up to me, I probably would have this conversation straight away. So it depends on the autistic you speak to. They might be working things out themselves, but it's kind of handy to be around people like yourself. I would do some research online. I'd be careful on some of the things I look at, but there are recommended places to go, like the NES are quite good, to have a look at the information about yourself. Following some people who are very cool on YouTube and TikTok. There's some really, really cool people I found who know what they're talking about. Was it the guy who's called Autism from the Inside? He's quite cool. And there's Aspie World, I find is good. And there's a girl who does TikTok, ADHD, and I can't remember what her name is, but she's got all different coloured hair, and she's very cool. So I find following people like that, because they've started to really explain how their life is and how they work things, because you might be at a point like, where do I go from here? And I think it's good to find out who you are. I would probably start to recognise if you have high anxiety. What is it that's causing the anxiety? I would start to put in coping strategies. What are coping strategies? Well, coping strategies are like avoiding places maybe that cause high anxiety. If you're scared about crowds, I would probably go when things are quieter, if it's possible. Limit the amount of time I spend in places that are causing high anxiety. I would use things whilst in those places, say like earphones, ear defenders, sunglasses if you're sensitive to bright light, or eye contact, fidget toys in your pocket, so you can use that for that. Get yourself, what they've got here in Wales is an orange wallet from Transport for Wales, which I think it's them who provides it, or it might be the Autism Service, but orange wallet, which in there you can have a card that says you're autistic and get a card that says you're autistic. And if you can't speak, if you go into a mute mode, then you can get printed out words that you can show someone if you can't speak, and say, I'm autistic, I need this. And more people I'm meant to be recognizing and having training and to know what an orange wallet is. So and you can get that here, and I'm hoping they have it in England. They might have a different thing in England, um, and different things in different places. And of course, you can get a sunflower lanyard, which shows people as well. Not everybody's going to know this, but the more we kind of get out there and do these things, the more they'll get educated, and it will start to become a norm. Do you know what I mean? Um, so that's coping strategies. There's more of those. You can find your own ones. I have a problem with communication with neurotypicals if I do it for too long. So I limit how much because I'm able to, limit how much I have a conversation, because I find their communication style kind of tires me, and it's not organic, sort of. It's just not the same pattern, and I need the same pattern to communicate without feeling sort of drained of energy. So I found with certain neurotypicals, I limit my amount of time I chat to them. Nothing against them. It's just I just don't talk the same. So so there's a lot of things you might find out about yourself. So when you notice yourself going through sort of an anxiety thing, or something, you're like, okay, what's triggered that? And this is when learning about yourself is. There's another thing as well. You might have learned negative thoughts about yourself. So you can't do all this at once, by the way. Little steps for us normally. Well, I wouldn't have thought you'd be able to do it all at once. It takes time. So negative thoughts about yourself. This is something we will be doing and have done, and because we often don't do things like other people or things like that, and this is when self-talk can be looked at. How am I talking to myself? Am I criticizing myself because I can't cope with this place? Am I putting myself down because I'm somebody who drops things? I drop things, dyspraxia, walk into things. It's time to maybe start doing some self-healing and kindness to yourself, because unfortunately growing up with the old-fashioned ways was sort of criticism when we were like that, but some of us couldn't help those things. And really, is it that important? um, you know so mental health is so important. That is way more important than anything, I think. So yeah, and then what I would say is learn about you. Allow yourself time to grieve if you need to grieve over the time you weren't diagnosed and the things you went through. They don't say this and they don't automatically do it, but I think they should automatically offer counselling with an autism counsellor. Not No, you might find somebody neurotypical who's good, right? But I don't know. I've found often that because our thinking patterns are different, quite often a neurotypical counsellor isn't understanding of how our brain works and how we think. So I would go to an autism counsellor, an autistic counsellor, somebody, because there might be some things you need to work through to help with triggers that have been created because of not being listened to, and mini traumas of situations as we've been through. I would also look at Chris Packham. His BBC series was fantastic. And I would start doing, even if it's just once a week, if you can, activities with other autistics. You're going to find, like with everybody, you're not going to get on with everyone, but you might have a similar communication style, and that's so refreshing. I tell you what, it was great when I started to meet other autistics. It was, oh my gosh, you think like me and I'm not an alien or something. So yeah, so those are some of the things I would do. I would also, this is a long video, sorry, make your environment that you live in, if it's possible, I know not everyone can do this, but maybe you can make a little cubbyhole, neurodivergent friendly, autism friendly. So if you're affected by noises, maybe cushion pads on your cupboards, bamboo plates. I would, if sensitive to sound, or you need white noise to relax you, whilst you're at home. Colour schemes can make a difference to how we react to certain things. Fairy lights, weighted blankets, tents, um, um, cuddly toys, fidget things, anything within your home that you can change into a more neurodivergent friendly atmosphere, more autistic friendly atmosphere. So sometimes for some people, it's being minimalist is really good because the less things to see, the less processing. So I could go on. There's loads of things I can tell you that after diagnosis you can do. Um, Family members, some may doubt. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say it negatively, but I had a bit of doubt about being autistic because they didn't understand. And that can be difficult to deal with. Um, or you might have family members who are very supportive and they're great. You might come across as well people who look at you and say you don't look autistic. I have how many times I've had that said to me? A million. Um, and it can be become a trigger. It did. So I got a T-shirt with "You don't look autistic" on it, actually. But the more awareness that gets out there, the less likely people are going to be saying things like that. Um, because it's hurtful. Whether they realise it or not, it is really hurtful. Reasons why it can dismiss what I've been through to get here. Dismiss what strategies I've had to put in place. Also, because there's a problem for autistics is our self-doubt. I have a lot of self-doubt, and I talk to so many people who go, I feel imposter syndrome. I don't feel I am this. And then somebody comes along, you don't look autistic. Thank you. You just made my imposter syndrome even worse. So it's like, yeah, because a lot of us have got that sort of doubt about ourselves. And then I'll go and do something I know is autistic, by accident. Oh, yeah. And then that helps. So, yeah, there are more things after you've had your diagnosis. Maybe give yourself as well some time off work to process it. Be kind to yourself. And find out about you, really. Maybe go on was it sabbatical they call it? Self-discovery little journey. Sit on top of a mountain or a hill or something and say, right, who am I? And another thing I want to say is it's, as far as I'm concerned anyway, it's not an inadequacy, it's a way of being. And I think it's awesome. I know right, okay, this is false positivity. I'm not saying that what you've been through doesn't count, and I don't say that being in this society isn't a hard thing. But when we've got each other, we might be able to get through it a little bit better. And hopefully society will move and grow, which will adapt to us all. And I know it can be a worry for parents as well. So, but there are organisations that can put some things in place to help protect the future of your adult autistics, if they need more support. And there are places you can find online. Oh, sorry, it's just my computer's just decided to do something random. Yay! And you just went white. Anyway, I'll stop talking now. Bye.